The first step is making the putty. You're gonna mix the base and the catalyst into a uniform mix that has no streaks. You will then roll it and make it as a small sausage. Then you're gonna apply it on the oblique lingual of the teeth and roll it over all the way to the buccal. This way you will not have any bubbles on the occlusal surface of the putty. Make sure the putty is well extended to the gingiva to have enough support and stability. Once the putty sets, remove it and check if there are any voids in the internal surface of the putty. The next step will be cutting the putty in the center of the tooth prep that you're going to be doing. I am here cutting in the center of the putty. Now make sure to place the putty against the bench. I am holding it here so the camera can show it better, but just be careful not to injure yourself while you're cutting the putty. Now once the blade crosses the other end of the tooth, I flip it and I continue cutting all the way down, as you see here. Then you're gonna check and see the adaptation of your putty to your tooth. The next step will be the tooth preparation. I usually start on the occlusal surface by making the depth grooves. I usually use a large chamfer burr that has a 1.2 millimeter diameter, and I go about 2/3 of that burr. That way I will have a range to make any corrections and reduce more if I need to. Next step I do is making depth grooves on the buccal surface. I also go 2/3 of the 1.2 chamfer burr and then I connect the grooves together.
Baby, what have I done?
Then I do the same steps on the lingual wall as well, with starting with the depth orientation grooves and then connecting them.
Baby, what have I done?
The next step is opening the contact using a needle diamond burr, or you can also use a 170 carbide burr or the thinnest burr that you have that can go in between the contacts without risking damaging the adjacent teeth. As you see here, I'm going through the buccal, leaving a thin shell between the adjacent tooth and the prepared tooth. That way I make sure I do not damage the adjacent tooth. You also have plenty of range to do that, so you don't have to be worried that the bear is going too deep. As long as you're keeping a thin shell between the prepared tooth and the adjacent tooth, you should have a safe range. I also go from the lingual side and I keep thinning the contact area until I achieve complete breakage of the contact in that area.
Tell me, tell me, tell me, baby, what have I done? Tell me, tell me, tell me, what have I done? Baby, what have I done?
Once the contact area is flat, use a hand instrument to break the thin shell that you created, and that will achieve the safe contact breaking without damaging the adjacent tooth. Then make sure you flatten your finish line in that region using the same burr that you used or any thin chamfer burr that can go interproximally without damaging the adjacent tooth. The same steps are done on the distal proximal contact opening.
Tell me, baby, what have I done? Tell me, baby, what have I done? Tell me, what have I, baby, what have
I then use a large chamfer burr to refine my preparation, round the sharp angles, and finalize the reductions.
Tell me, baby, what have I done? Tell me, what have I
While the typodont is in the mouth, you will check with the body and see if your reduction is adequate. In this situation here, we noticed that we had to taper the buccal wall more and reduce more on the occlusal surface.
Tell me, baby, what have I done? Tell me, what have I, baby, what have I
So the next step is making the provisional. you will fill 2/3 of the cavity with a little bit more material on the proximal surfaces. Then you will place the putty back and make sure it's all the way seated. Once the integrity starts to set, remove the putty and clean off the excess. The next step will be removing the provisional by elevating using a spoon excavator from the mesial and the distal proximal areas. Once the provisional is removed, check for any overhangs or overextensions and use a coarse red Softlex disc to remove those overextensions. Care should be taken not to over trim or trim from the contact, so you basically want to trim the excess material and not the actual margin of the provisional. Upon checking here, we noticed that there is some overextension on the proximal surfaces of the provisional, so we reduced more of the proximal margins here of the provisional, and then we checked again. Using a composite polishing brush, polish the buccal surface, the occlusal surface, and the lingual surface of the provisional. Do not polish the proximal surfaces as it might risk having open contact on the provisional.